This is Hakea cristata, grows in the John Forrest National Park and similar areas of the Darling Range east of Perth in Western Australia, and it has these masses of beautiful white flowers. It's got quite interesting ovate shaped leaves with dentate edges on the leaves, and surprisingly the birds visit this not only for taking nectar but also insects. Grows in granite type soils and is quite hardy to a whole range of soils, but prefers well-drained sandy loams. Matoides, this is perhaps the smallest of all the Hakeas, and it grows in the Darling Range and sandheaths east of Perth. It's now becoming quite endangered because of the urban sprawl of Perth, and it's a dainty little plant with small ovate type leaves and lovely pinky red flowers with a yellow anther, and when it's in flower you get these lovely long racemes of flower. This is Hakea tabutala, only grows in a small area around Albany and in the Stirling Ranges. Very prickly plant. The leaves are quite short, only about 20 mils long, and they're quite prickly, and the lovely white flowers that come out at this time of the year are quite attractive. The other thing about it is that it's usually in the wild there's just a couple of spindly limbs. Here it's grown into quite a thick hedge type bush. Hakea incrassata, again from the sandheaths north of Perth in Western Australia, has quite a linear elliptical type leaf, and the flowers are quite insignificant. They tend to be quite small, come out whitish and turn gradually into a sort of pinky brown. Just grown by enthusiasts. Has a lignotuber, so in due course it can be pruned back quite hard. But the seed capsules are the feature of this plant. They're just like a big tom thumb for those who know about marbles. These two plants here are Hakea fraseri, and they grow around the rims of 4 waterfalls on the New England plateau near Armidale in New South Wales. And this plant is very difficult to grow because where it grows on the ledges of the waterfalls and on scree slopes, and quite often the mist from the waterfalls sweeps back over them. It's an endangered plant because of its minimum number of known plants, but it does have lovely cream flowers, racemes of cream flowers when it does flower, and it's a plant that we're hoping here will flower this spring, and that we'll start to get some seed. But it's very similar to Macriana, Hakea Macriana, but the leaves are shorter. They're only about 150 to 200 mils long, and it's a fairly small, open, with a corkish bark. The one at the back is Hakea scoparia, the beautiful pinky flowers on it. That's a plant about 6 or 7 years old. The feature of scoparia is, of course, the lovely sort of rounded bush. Grows in the wet belt of Western Australia, especially south of Perth, and when it's in flower it looks very beautiful. It has leaves that tend to point upwards, and they're terete, and if you look at them in cross-section, they have 5 wide grooves, and that's the way you can tell it from another one very similar called Hakea vaginata, which has also 5 grooves, but they're very narrow in their width compared to the wide grooves in scoparia. It's one of my pride and joys. This is Hakea scoparia subspecies trisophisa, and it grows only in one little small area at the western face of Mount Ragged, some 300 to 400 k's east of Esperance in Western Australia. This big mountain that rises some 600 metres above the ground is quartzite, and when it rains all the water rushes down the mountainside and then disappears underneath into the ground, sandy loam ground, and this is where this plant's found. It's unique in its locality. It's unique because the leaves tend to bend inwards, which is one way of telling the subspecies. But the other great feature about it is that the flowers, which come out of sort of a creamy white, gradually turn a sort of a pinky purplish colour with age, and so it is really a lovely showy plant when it's out in flower. Hakea linearis is one of the few Hakeas that flowers pretty well all the year, and you have these lovely white flowers that come out against the beautiful green linear foliage. The foliage itself is quite narrow, up to 30 odd millimetres long, with a very sharp point. This plant seems to like cool, wet conditions. Where it grows naturally is quite close to swamps and other areas, and it's proved to be a very easy plant to grow here in Colac because it loves our sandy soils, and the fact that it also comes from an area in Western Australia down around Albany where the rainfall is some, in the old scale, 40 to 60 inches. This is Hakea pedalaris subspecies Angusta, and it comes from Pengaring golf course area, fairly limited in its locality, grows in granitic sands, and these plants can get to at least 8 metres, so really they're not really suitable for small gardens. They're really suitable for gardens like mine where you've got room to plant them and let them grow to their full potential. But one of the interesting things about this plant is that apart from the leaves being nearly sessile onto the branches, is also you get flowers on the old wood, such as here, and this one actually flowered right down to the very base when it was fully out. So it's a pretty hardy plant, will tolerate dryness, and it loves a well-drained situation, but again, it's a plant that needs room to grow.